Well, we started off the talk yesterday about the NUC suspension of 6 Nigerian universities. Some have called it suspension. Some have actually said, well, it's not a suspension as NUC has aired. Well, today we've been joined by a director of the NUC, a director of Open and Distance Education of the Nigeria Universities Commission, Sulaiman Rahman Yusuf. Good to have you join us on Sunrise Today.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
Well, first, were they more than 6 or just 6?
Well, 6 private universities had their licenses suspended by the National Universities Commission. The 7th one had its license withdrawn. Basically, this was a university that was not really functional, very few students, and they themselves will agree that it's not quite a viable project.
Well, I'll be more specific here. For instance, one of the universities, Leeds City University, did say they never received a letter from you saying that, well, there was any kind of suspension on their license to operate.
Well, you know, there will be all sorts of claims about the issue of letters not being received. But the truth of the matter is that there's a procedure for whatever we do. All the universities have been duly informed. You may wonder, how come most of the other universities have already been to the commission to try to clarify issues? Did they get letters or didn't they get letters? So I want to assure you that it is not true that they have not received any letter concerning the suspension of licenses. So
you're confirming to us that you actually did send them letters, because I mean, you say that the other universities have come to you. It could be that they saw it on the media, on the airwaves anywhere, and decided to come and confirm with you. But are you saying categorically that you actually did send them letters?
Of course. We wrote to each of the proprietors of these private universities, conveying the commission decision, you know, to suspend the operational licenses of these universities.
Oh, they've also said that you do not exactly have you don't have the powers to suspend or withdraw licenses.
Well, that is a matter of opinion. Who has the powers to suspend licenses?
That is the Federal Executive Council.
Well, that could be an argument. To be honest, the truth of the matter is that people need to understand how government operates. Federal Executive Council will give administrative approval. There's an agency, a statutory agency of government that has the responsibility for maintaining quality in the Nigerian university system. And in that setting, yes, the Federal Executive Council, you know, is the highest policy-making body, but it's not necessary that the Federal Executive Council will sign the licenses. Even their licenses were not signed by the Federal Executive Council. So I think the most important point to be made is that there's a due process in all that we do. Don't forget that we're a government agency.
Who signs their licenses?
The Honorable Minister of Education and the Executive Secretary of the National Universities Commission.
The way it is now, for instance, even yesterday in the Punch, they say some Vice Chancellor tackles NUC over Leeds City license suspension, and well, more specifically, the same university is saying that they didn't get a letter. You have actually clarified that, but again, what were the grounds with these universities that have made their licenses been suspended?
Very good. In fact, I will, on behalf of the Commission, express appreciation to Channels for giving us an opportunity to enlighten our paymasters, the Nigerians. Now, the truth of the matter is this. There are a few issues concerning the way universities are run in Nigeria, be they public or private. In this particular instance, let me make a point clearly here. Most of the universities you see on that short list are serial offenders. By that I mean universities that had erred from time to time, that had been, informed by the commission in writing, sometimes admitting, look, the way you are running your program is not correct. So this decision, was the combination of all these opportunities for universities to mend their ways. So any institution that says they were shocked to suddenly find that the licenses were withdrawn, they are being economical with the truth. So there are basic issues of poor governance, structure and ethos. In the Nigerian university system, for example, in the public university system, you have the visitor who is the president in the case of federal universities, or the governors in the case of state universities. In the private universities, you have the board of trustees. Below that level, you have the governing council under the chairmanship of the pro-chancellor. Then you have the university senate under the chairmanship of the vice-chancellor. In some of these private universities, an individual says, because I'm proprietor of University X, when it suits me, today I say I'm the DVC academic. Next week, I'm pro-chancellor. Then that man who is pro-chancellor sets up his office on top of the VC's office, and rather than concern himself with a broad policy issues, which will be the responsibility of governing council, interferes in the day-to-day run. In fact, it's so ridiculous that in some universities, the vice-chancellor cannot approve a check of 5,000 or 10,000 naira because the proprietor is breathing down their necks. And just as you have in terms of government, you have separation of powers between judicial and the executive. In the university system also, each organ of the university has functions and responsibilities prescribed by its own law.
Does that fall into the purview of the NUC to
control? Absolutely. See, because if you don't have such the delineation of authorities, there will be chaos. Do you understand? Academic matters are solely the responsibility of the university senate. So a proprietor doesn't need to be a professor, but if he's a member of the board of trustees by virtue of his investment, he will hire people with the requisite competence, professors, to run academic affairs. So in some of these universities, I can tell you, the owner or proprietor sometimes upturns decisions of senate. We can't watch that kind of rubbish going on. So we said, no, let us run these universities properly. Everywhere in the world, universities work towards evolving a tradition of excellence. Okay, don't forget these are ivory towers. These are not some pedestrian organizations. Okay?
Well, I'm quite sure you've heard what Lit City has to say, because they're very much in the news, talking, even putting up advertorials. They say their license, or the next time that NUC should be coming to for the accreditation, is 2014.
Yeah.
So if they have erred, aren't you supposed to wait till 2014 and just give a warning, or must you slam it down on the school?
Yeah, you see, let me clarify this point. The bandy accreditation results are around, okay? But the truth of the matter is this: when a program ends full accreditation, the 2014 they are referring to is with regard to some of their programs that end full accreditation. And this accreditation status is program specific. So what people want us to understand is that you have full accreditation, let's say in mass communication. Does that insulate you from the general regulations concerning, say, issues of governance? It does not. So if NUC is talking about the program for which you have full accreditation before the due date, that's a different matter entirely. But to say because you have full accreditation in some programs, the way you govern the university is immaterial, or whether, as in some of those universities, students are fed up with the way they are being mismanaged, they want to go elsewhere, say, you can't get a transcript unless you do blah, blah, blah. They frustrate even people who want to live. I'm not talking about Lit City now. But let me be very, very categorical. I'm not here to, bandy words with Lit City University, because Lit City University is just one of the 124 universities in Nigeria, and one of the 50 private universities. You'd agree that if we spend our entire life talking about each of these 50 universities, what they publish in newspapers, we will not have time to do our work. The truth is this: anybody who believes that this action was targeted at a particular university, with due respect, is just suffering from an illusion of grandeur, because the commission is too busy dealing with 124 universities to be focused on one upstart of an institution. So the truth is this: the issues at stake are issues of governance and ethos. What will be the role of governing council? How do you, because when people talk about good governance, it's not only about a federal government. Institutional governance should be good.
Did their letter state clearly what
for sure
they are done wrong? Because a host of the other institutions who also spoke with media persons said that they know nothing about what they have done.
See, let me make this clear. As I said, at least 5 or 6 of those universities have already been to the commission to iron out the issues. The advertorial you might have seen in the papers spoke in general terms. We don't wash our dirty linen in public. There are details. For example, when we do accreditation, in Nigeria, unlike in the United States where you can have full disclosure. We will just inform our public that University X presented Y number of programs, and of this is the number that earned full accreditation and so on. The details of why that program got denied accreditation, poor staffing, poor facilities, are communicated to the universities in writing, undercover, because we don't expose, you know what I'm saying? So each of these universities knows exactly which of the 5. There are actually 5 broad issues of governance, poor learning environment, poor management of student affairs, for example, the issue of non-release of transcripts, okay, poor management of academic activities, illegal, unapproved programs. A university gets a license that says, look, let me say something here which I think will benefit Nigerians. The main job of the National Universities Commission is to ensure the orderly development of university education in Nigeria, including the setting and upholding of standards. Now, so for a private university to operate, that university is guided by certain key instruments or documents: the academic brief, the physical master plan, and its own laws. Quickly, the academic brief is a compendium of all the programs, academic programs, which that university will run with a trajectory of its academic development. That is to say, we take off in 2010 with 2 faculties and X number of departments. In the 5th year, we shall introduce the Department of Mass Comm. All these things are stated, including the takeoff number of students, let's say 400 in the 1st year, and as we grow in phases, ultimately we aim to have 7,500 students or 10,000 students. And each time you want to introduce a new program, NUC wants to say, look, this program you want to introduce, is it in your academic brief? Is it approved for you? Okay? If it is it in phase 1 or phase 2? So what some of these universities do now is to say, oh, we heard that there are many students looking for admission in the mass comm. We just go to the newspapers and advertise, we want to start mass communication.
But again, what's the fate of students of these universities?
Very good. As I said the other time we were talking about this issue of part-time program, the National Universities Commission works on behalf of the Nigerian people to ensure that when people earn degrees, those degrees will be evidence that they have acquired certain competencies and knowledge to enable them contribute meaningfully, to national development. So the students have nothing to worry about, because this suspension is aimed at ensuring that those universities quickly address the issues as they apply to them. If it's issues of governance, one man cannot wake up on Monday and is a DVC because he's the owner of the university. Then the next time he sues him is pro-chancellor. And he sits there, he doesn't allow the person who is vice-chancellor to do his work. So when the issue specific to each of these universities has been ironed out with the commission, the ban may be lifted. Meanwhile, the students can, they will go about their normal business. Lectures will be going on.
You said may be lifted.
Yeah, because it's conditional. It's
conditional.
going to be contingent upon meeting satisfactorily fulfilling the conditions. Do you understand? So that's to say that this suspension is not arbitrary. It was predicated on certain empirical facts.
But again, if you say may, now we're using the conditional statement there, the clause there, and the continue education, continue lecturing there in such institutions, and maybe it comes to a time where some students will need to go for the NYC, some students will need to graduate, and the license is still under suspension. How do they leave school?
No, let me make this clear. The call-up of graduates of a university has nothing to do with whether the license is suspended. The issue is that those students who are currently enrolled will continue with their studies. The suspension is to do with new entrants.
So they cannot admit fresh students?
Yeah, absolutely, because you say this system is faulty. You want to fix it. You need to shut the door at some point and say, look, while we are fixing this, those who are in the system can go on as we continue to work together with these universities. Mind you, we don't leave universities to their own devices. We work with them with the ultimate aim of ensuring that each Nigerian university under our watch will ultimately be able to produce graduates that are globally competitive, entrepreneurial, and imbued with sufficient skills and knowledge to be drivers of the national economy.
What about public, sorry Marco, what about public universities? Because we have cases sometimes of some universities where we see this kind of issue of high-handedness by the VC or even some other issues with the Senate and some governing boards. Does NUC also come hard on them?
We do. You see, that's why when you hear one particular university crying, the tendency is for one to just believe that these individuals may be suffering from some persecution complex, because the National Universities Commission has responsibility for all universities in Nigeria, irrespective of proprietorship. You recall a few years back, one state university had a very poor outing in the accreditation. Over about 27 programs and denied accreditation. And the implications were clear. If you couldn't admit students into 20 programs in a university, you didn't need to be told by anyone that that university was on its way down. So what did the government of that state do? The governor and some of his key officials came to the commission, and as I said earlier, we presented them with the details of the deficiencies identified and went ahead to advise them on what remedial steps they needed to take, including the cost implication of these steps. So if the NUC can derecognize state universities, what are we talking about? So it's not proprietorship specific. That's the issue. You see, because we must make this clear. When people cry wolf when there's none, it may show that they themselves have things to hide. So it's very clear.
Does the NUC also act like a consulting agency for universities?
See, the National Universities Commission, I think I said this the last time we were discussing some of these issues. The National Universities Commission works with Nigerian universities in partnership. If you take our accreditation exercises, yes, we have a couple of professors at NUC, but these professors do not go to universities to evaluate programs. We recruit professors, competent professors from the relevant fields from the Nigerian university system to go and accredit other universities. Do you get the point? So NUC plays various roles, including capacity building. For example, in the open education learning area, which is my own turf, we organize training workshops for academic staff on how to do ICT-enabled teaching. So we don't just complain, we work with universities to build capacity so that we can achieve our ultimate objective of producing useful graduates.
You know, it becomes so hard and difficult for a student to get into school, and maybe when it's time for you to graduate, that's when they get to hear stories about NUC. Why is it that NUC don't come maybe from the start? You give them the accreditation before they start the program, not let students be on board. At the end of the day, when they don't get accredited, you tell them that they cannot graduate. So if from the start you start the accreditation before admissions are even done, it gives the students some kind of rest of mind.
Let me quickly correct an impression. You see, the process of licensing private universities, for example, is a 14-step process. You know, involving due diligence about availability of resources, human and material, including projections to say, look, that's why I said when a university is licensed, we say, look, you can start with 2 faculties or colleges with maybe 400 students, and then incrementally, as the university develops, as the university acquires the requisite academic and other support staff, yes, when you have the resources, you let us know that, well, we have enough people to teach mass comm, for example. Then we say, okay, let's send professors of mass comm to go to that university to assess what is on ground before approval is given. So what I'm telling you here is that we have a procedure for accreditation. You will agree with me that if a program starts today on Monday, what are you going to evaluate? The program has to run for a short while for you to know whether it is viable or not. So that's why we don't wait until the first set graduates. We say, look, we have started this program now. 1 year down the line, allow the program to start, the professors are in place and so on. Then we come and evaluate the program for accreditation. So you will find, that's why NUC insists that you cannot graduate students from a program that has not been accredited. This is to ensure that only those programs that have the requisite resources, where students are going to be opportune to have the required curricular exposure and have indeed acquired the competence, because we actually even look at their exam scripts, standard of exam. So that at the end of the day, only programs...
Sorry, allow me come in here, because that's the issue now. Because some say that there's actually a wolf somewhere. Because if you talk about standard of exams and some other issues, they still believe that when you compare some of these private universities to some of the state universities, then I think some of the state universities should be getting the ban on a daily basis.
I don't know who is saying that. The only person competent, the only group or the only agency competent to talk about the quality of universities is the National Universities Commission. Because you cannot sit as a farmer and say, oh, looking at my farm, my farm is of better quality. Allow an expert who is dispassionate to compare the two farms. Let me tell you something. The National Universities Commission has a what we call the benchmark minimum academic standards. Minimum, underline the word minimum. And these standards are set at what we call the threshold that ensures that the average student would have been able to acquire the threshold average under, you know, when you do this bell-shaped curve, everybody, the most people will be in the middle of that curve as average people. So these standards are defined for private and public universities. When a program is going to be evaluated, it's the same yardstick. We have teacher-student ratio for each of the academic disciplines. We have staff mix by rank. In a public or private university, in a department for a program, we have a pyramidal structure that says 20% of the academic staff must be professors and readers. That's the professorial cadre.
What's the composition of your team going out for the accreditation?
Excellent. If you are going to university Y, you get professors with cognate experience in that particular program from universities A, B, C, D. In fact, taking into account even geopolitical spread, so that you don't say some Yoruba professors were sent to the East to go and fill them. You understand? Mm-hmm. So, and that's why I like the question you asked the individual that came from that university the other time. He said, look, if it is true that one man in NUC is hounding you, how come most of your programs got a full accreditation? That's simply because our operations are very, very transparent. It's peer review. Peer review is done everywhere in the world. You want to access China's television. If you want to get good results, you must get practicing journalists from other media to come and assess your operations. If you send engineers to come and assess presentation, then you will not be getting the desired result. You get the point I'm making. So NUC does not do accreditation by itself. It's a process of peer review where professors are brought from one university to go to other universities and assess their program in their areas of competence.
Now, it's very interesting that you say that, because a host of people feel that since you are a government agency, yes, chances are that you could be kinder to government institutions.
That is absolutely untrue. I told you. See, let me tell you, in 2005, because I was in charge of accreditation division at that time, University of Nigeria and Nsukka, University of Ibadan, OAU Ile-Ife, their programs denied accreditation in law. That same year, ABU Zaria lost accreditation in accounting. These are first-generation universities, for crying out loud. So it is untrue. What is important is this. Those of us, or those of you who are Christians, we know what the Bible says, that obey is better than sacrifice. Rather than run around from pillar to post, lobbying for people, publishing 10 pages in the papers, universities should just follow the guidelines. But they will sleep well.
Do you have copies, some kind of evidence to show that they actually received those letters? If they still insist that they were never given letters.
Well, you see, let me be very frank. The issue of receiving letter, I'm not saying it's inconsequential, but it's not really the meat of this discussion. Because if you look at it, you say Sulaiman has committed an offense. If the headline says Sulaiman Alede commits an offense, that is just what you people will say maybe is the headline. The details will come to you eventually. You get the point? So they have the right to know, and that's what I'm saying, that universities, I mean, if we talk about advertorial, that's why I say we're not going to join issues with one particular university, because we have so many universities. If you take that same publication of Punch of yesterday, in that same newspaper, while one university was publishing 3 full pages of gibberish, another one took half a page to tell his stakeholders that yes, there are issues concerning our license with NUC. We are in touch with the National Universities Commission, and these issues are being resolved. And we are sure that very soon the issues will be resolved. That was one university. Another one took 3 pages and was telling history and geography and so on. So it's, I mean, there's freedom. People can publish, but for us, we remain focused on our mandate of ensuring that in the Nigerian university system, a bachelor's degree is a bachelor's degree.
You know, let us also visit the issue of this. You know, let's talk about the issue of license. You say that it is the Minister of Education and also the Executive Secretary of the NUC, yes, that sign licenses. Yes. In this particular instance, is the Minister aware?
Of course. Of course.
Does she have to sign the letter as well?
No. No. What do we do as a statutory agency if every letter we want to sign to 124 universities will be signed by the Minister? So the Minister is a busy individual. There's delegation of authority. NUC is the statutory agency.
So what's
It's
the,
not an
what's, the,
ad hoc,
what's the leadership style of NUC?
NUC is a public institution that has a governing board. Do you understand? Just like the same kind of structure, you have a governing a board of in our case we call it a commission, made up of professors from each of the academic disciplines, 13 academic disciplines, people from Ministry of Education and so on. That's the board or the commission of the National Affairs Commission. Then at the lower level is NUC management, executive secretary, directors of the departments, and some senior deputy directors.
So there's check and
Absolutely.
balance. Well, anyway, one other issue before we go, the issue of the Faculty of Law at Leeds City University. What's the state of that accreditation?
Well, the truth of the matter is this: I am not a learned man. I'm told that that matter is sub judice. I shall have no comment on that.
Is it in court or that they just obtain an injunction against you? Oh, sorry, the executive secretary of the NUC.
No, from some of the things we have heard, they have gone to National Assembly, there's a public petition. My advice to Leeds City University is this: let the people who run Leeds City ask themselves certain questions. Out of these 50 private universities, why is it always about us? And in fact, for me, I would say Leeds City people should go on attachment to good universities like Covenant, American University of Nigeria and Yola, Babcock, to find out how these universities manage to organize themselves to be good universities without name calling. On their mandate of evolving as a center of excellence in one or two academic disciplines, not a center of excellence in petition writing. Universities have more serious business than publishing the papers and rabble rousing.